first of all, I want to address, I believe, what was one of Joe Biden's most egregious lies last night, which was when he said no soldier has died on his watch. There are 13 families of 13 veterans who died in the exit to Afghanistan, and they deserve to be honored with grace. They gave their lives for our country and for the Afghanistan people, and that was pretty egregious. But last night, I mean, you know, this was a wake-up call.
We fact-checked him on that. I do just want to note that what you're mentioning.
Well, that's great. I think CNN did a really good job. I was actually pleasantly surprised at how well and fair and balanced the questions were for both candidates. I think that's what the country deserved last night. But when you talk about what was going on in the debate last night, this was a wake-up call for the entire country. Forget about post-debate analysis. I personally want to know what's going on in the White House. Who is in charge? Who is actually running the country? Because very clearly after last night, it is not Joe Biden. And this is a discussion that should be up for debate between now and November. He can't run the country. He's not running it now. He can't run it possibly after November. And so the choice between either of them couldn't be any clearer. And I think it's really important that, you know, we're not having a fight over the right or the left right now. This is a fight over the center. We're independents, right of center, left of center. There's no way that they're going to support a guy who clearly doesn't know what's going on.
Why do you think he's not running the country?
Because of his cognitive decline. I mean, last night, for me, it was kind of heartbreaking. I have aging parents. I'm a mom. To see what they put him through, I thought was abusive. He should not have been on that stage. He should not have been in that debate. He is definitely not running the country. There's no way that the leader of the free world who couldn't stand up for 90 minutes is running the show.
What evidence do you have? I do want to ask you that because I think a lot of questions were raised by his performance, questions that he has to answer for, and he tried to at least start to do that today. But what is the evidence that you have of that?
You had 90 minutes last night of Joe Biden on stage. He needed an interpreter. You couldn't even understand what he was saying when he was answering the questions. Something is not right. Something cognitively, he's clearly on a massive decline. And we have to be honest with the American people, because for clearly over the last year, Democrats, the White House, aided by mainstream media, they've been covering up for the cognitive decline. It was just last week when Biden was in Italy at the G7 summit, wandering aimlessly off, and all these real videos were called sheep fakes by the mainstream media.
He was greeting someone, just to be clear. I mean, I know what video you're talking about.
But there are many videos. It's not just that one. There are a lot of videos.
You're raising some valid points, obviously. We all watched this debate last night, but I do just want to be specifically clear about all the videos that we've seen.
The mainstream media were calling these real videos cheap fakes, and we've all seen him.
No, I think the White House
confused,
press secretary was calling it that.
I just want to be by the media.
I just want to be clear. Yeah. We were not owning that statement. I just want to be very clear about that. I want to talk a little bit about some of the issues, and obviously, the president and his performance last night does raise a lot of questions. But I do want to talk about some of the issues, the policy issues. On the issue of abortion, here's what President Trump said last night. Let's listen.
They will take the life of a child in the 8th month, the 9th month, and even after birth. After birth, if you look at the former governor of Virginia, he was willing to do this. He said, we'll put the baby aside and we'll determine what we do with the baby, meaning we'll kill the baby.
No, that is not what that means. Just to be clear, that was not even in the zip code of reality. Why is he doing that?
Well, if I recall, several years ago, there was actually legislation filed in Virginia about post-birth abortion. And then the other thing about Roe v. Wade is Roe v. Wade does allow for abortion.
You're not accurately representing that.
I am, and even Roe v. Wade would allow, by law, abortion up until the 9th month of a pregnancy. So those are just facts about abortion.
Letting a baby die is a crime, just to be clear.
Yeah, but there have been Democrats in this country and state legislatures that have filed legislation related to post-birth abortion. That's a fact. So when we're having this conversation, it's important for both sides, the left and the right, to have an honest conversation about it.
Well, I think that's incredibly important. So let's do that, because that's not what this is.
And it's a huge issue that I am deeply.
But that's not what you're doing right there when you talk about that. There are so many people who care deeply about this issue, and there are many people who fall along the continuum of what they think is okay. And when you talk about it like that, that is not an honest conversation.
That is the truth, though.
As you are aware, I'm assuming you are, the abortions that occur later account for about 1%, right? We're talking after the 20 some odd week mark, the sort of post viability mark. The vast majority of them occur so much earlier. And when you're talking about those ones that occur later, these are decisions that have to do with the health and the life of the mother, with the life of the fetus.
Exceptions
These
that
tend to be.
I support the mother's life is in danger.
These
Absolutely.
tend to be wanted pregnancies, and these tend to be decisions that are done with so much emotion, questions of morality as well. They're not done lightly. And so the people who have actually been in that situation look at this characterization, and it's incredibly offensive to them.
Right, and you're mischaracterizing what I've said. My position has always been when the life of the mother is in danger that she should be protected. I've run against Republican candidates who didn't have that position. In fact, I just disposed of one 2 weeks ago who had a position a couple of years ago with no exceptions, not even for life of the mother. And so I've leaned in on whether it was a trisomy 18 case in Texas, mifepristone case in ruling in Texas, the Alabama IVF ruling, the crazy 1864 ruling in Arizona. I've been pretty clear, probably one of the most vocal people in my party, one of the most vocal women certainly on abortion, and finding that middle ground, because whether you're pro-choice or pro-life,
are they
all
listening
of us,
to you?
Well, I mean, I win overwhelmingly in my purple district. I just won in my primary with these positions. We'll win overwhelmingly in November as well. But whether you're pro-choice or pro-life, all of us have some limits. Generally in the second trimester, whether it's 12, 15, or 20 weeks, or in some cases, some people might have the position of 24, but somewhere in the second trimester, the vast majority of Americans think there should be some limitations. That's a conversation we should be having now, both sides, but we're not. Because both sides are sort of digging their heels in.
There are a lot of limitations. If you actually dig into this, you'll see. And those are done a lot by a case-by-case basis. Trump still will not commit to accepting the results of the past election and the upcoming election. Does that worry you as someone who at least initially had some pretty harsh words for him when it came to how he responded to January 6th?
Well, I voted to certify the Electoral College in 20. I believe in the Constitution and following the rule of law.
Does that worry you that he will not commit to that?
We've had 4 years of Joe Biden. We cannot afford to have 4 more. When I look at constitutional issues,
so you can overlook that,
invasion,
the fact that he will not commit to accepting the outcome of a free and fair election because of that.
We've had 4 years of Joe Biden, and we need Donald Trump back in the White House. We've had over
Why
9
not answer
million,
the question?
We've had over 9 million illegals invade the southern border. We have inflation
Why
that's
not
through
answer
the
the
roof.
question?
I am answering your question. I support Donald Trump. I've endorsed him. I'm campaigning
So you're
for
not
him.
worried? Is that then? Should I take that you're
think
not
he's-
worried about
I
his
don't
lack
think
of
it's a-
commitment to accepting the election outcome?
I think he's going to win overwhelmingly. I think there'll be no question in November where the American people stand.